What is the science of persuasion? And I'm here to tell you that it's not probably what you and I were traditionally taught. Traditional sales taught me, at least, that what you're supposed to do is find somebody's needs, and of course you knew what those were before you arrived, and what you're supposed to do is fill those needs, and by filling those needs, the customer would buy. That's true, and it's not true. Like a lot of things in white, maybe it's not quite as black and white as that. I would say to you that people don't really buy needs per se. At least that's not what they buy first. What people really buy are wants. Think about it. There are a lot of needs people have, but they still don't do anything about it. We don't do anything about it till we really want something, till we're motivated. I believe that selling is the process of motivation. And what is the actual process in reality compared to what you and I have been taught? Because there is a rather big difference. And that big difference, I think, is seeing that influence happens in a moment. It doesn't happen through a 45-minute sales presentation. It's like all those things in the sales presentation set up a moment or two where a person all of a sudden links up in their head that this is something they really want desperately, that it relates to a deep desire, and they can justify it. And those are the two elements we're going to talk about. How to build tremendous want for your product, and how to be able to let people know that they want to be able to justify getting it. If you get people to want something bad enough, they'll usually find a way to justify it with just a little bit of help from you. So what is the process? What makes us not only buy, but literally do anything? The answer is really simple. Everything we do for a reason or a series of reasons. But what kind of reasons do we use? The primary motivating factor behind all human behavior is the desire to avoid pain and the desire or need to gain pleasure. Those two twin forces are what drive all human behavior. Everything you do is some description or some outlay of that particular idea. So if you and I want to persuade someone of anything, we have to understand that people don't just do things because we tell them to. People do things for reasons. In other words, people have to associate the action of buying to creating tremendous pleasure and the action of not buying to creating pain. That is the master formula to persuasion. Traditionally, what people think of is, even if they think of selling as something like motivation, they try and get somebody really pumped up and they say, gosh, if you get this, you'll get all these benefits. But I'm here to tell you that you can't just have somebody motivated out of their desire to want. You've also got to have them associate in their mind, actually feel that not buying would be painful. What do I mean painful? That they would be missing something, that they would be losing, that they would be alone, any emotional wound or hurt. Because I want you to know this, and I know this sounds horrible, but I believe the best study of life is how it is, not how we think it should be. And the best study of life is this, in my opinion. In everything that I've researched or studied, people will do more to avoid pain than they will ever do to get pleasure. I'll give you a classic example. Which are you more motivated to do? Save $1,000 or keep someone from stealing $1,000 that's in your pocket? I would suggest to you that for most people, they're going to try and hang on to what they've got. They're going to try and avoid what they would consider to be losing or pain. So what we're going to talk about then is how can we create these twin motivations happening and do it with integrity and do it with elegance. I'm not talking about manipulating somebody or lying to them or showing them something that's not there. I'm talking about assisting them in getting what they want by utilizing the most powerful force within them for creating change. Now, when I'm talking about this, what we're really talking about then in terms of emotions is we're talking about consequences. You and I, as salespeople, as persuaders, must sell consequences. Positive consequences if someone does well, in other words, the heaven if you do, and negative consequences if they don't. Now, we can't be so blatant to come out and just say that, because if you just come out and say that, the prospect will go, you're just trying to sell me. So there is a process to get to this point. Obviously, one, that prospect's going to have some questions in their mind. Question number one they're probably going to have is, do you really have their best interest in mind? Can they trust you? Are you here just to make a sale? When you say something, is it, being filtered through your needs and desires, or is it really about them? And that's why when we get into the actual step-by-step sales process, I'm going to teach you 10 steps to sales mastery. And of course, one of those will be able to create that incredible bond where people know who you are, that you're not just some person popping around here who's just kind of cramming a sale, but you're a professional who definitely cares. And if you can't meet their needs, you're not going to. You're going to get a great referral and help somebody you can help and make a great friend in the process. And if they get that and know that, that'll eliminate that first question. The next questions they're going to have in their mind are, well, what is this? What's in it for me? And what has to happen for them to get persuaded is they must link in their mind or associate they're going to get what they want most in the world through this product. For example, how many of you like to have, let's say, a Mercedes-Benz? How many like to have one of those? Ah, quite a few of you. Good. So isn't it amazing how I can see your hands going up? This is pretty exciting, isn't it? Seriously. Question. Why do you want a Mercedes-Benz? Why do you want one? Tell me. Think about it. And the answers I usually get are things like, well, because, you know, it's the best. And I'm the best, so I want the best. Or somebody will say something like, well, because the feeling it'll give me. Or somebody will say, well, because it's good transportation. Right? The reality is, people don't buy needs. When you go to buy a Mercedes, you're not buying because you need a Mercedes. Now, the truth is, if you want something bad enough, it becomes a need, doesn't it? But the point is that a person buys a Mercedes. Now, not all people want them, by the way. You didn't all raise your hands. Some people don't. They go, what are you, stupid? I wouldn't want a Mercedes. I want a Hyundai. Why? Because, I mean, for that Mercedes, I could have 16 Hyundais. Right? I mean, why would I do that? That would be stupid. Now, one person would not buy a Mercedes because they associate buying a Mercedes is wasteful. It's stupid, which are forms of words we might call painful. Does that make sense? We have different words for pain. There are different levels of pain. Pain could be physical pain. It could be humiliation. It could be, well, pain of frustration. It could be the pain of inconvenience. And some are more painful than others. That person thinks having a Mercedes would mean, you know, having this big payment, let's say, and that inconvenience and hassle, or it'd be not being intelligent, be wasteful. So they're not going to do it. They're going to do a Hyundai because what do they want? They want a feeling of being intelligent. Okay? The person who wants a Mercedes, they got a whole different thing. They want prestige. They want knowing they're the best. They want other people to notice. They want status, let's say. So my point is this. That in selling, we cannot just assume we know what's going to be painful for one person and pleasurable for another. The part of the process of selling, obviously, then is finding out that person's beliefs and values. Finding out what do they link to things. See, when you walk in the room and if you introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm a salesperson, guess what? Boom, instantly a lot of people have certain states they associate to salespeople that are less than pleasurable. They may associate salesperson equals pushy person who doesn't care and tries to manipulate me. And no matter who you are, immediately they get that feeling and they want to avoid being around you. So it's not personal, right? What you got to do, though, is change what people associate in order to change their behavior. And what I'd like you to realize is that in order to get someone to do anything, in order to motivate them, what you really got to be able to do is get them to a point where they're dissatisfied with the way things are. I mean, think about it. If somebody is overweight and they're not changing, it's because they're not dissatisfied enough. Your job and my job in working with people is to find out what are their strong wants. Show them they're not getting it so they get dissatisfied enough. They feel a little hurt. They go, gosh, I really do want this. I really do want to be thin. I really do want to have something that's the best. And it becomes so strong that now they're compelled to really make a change. That is, make a purchase. That is, do something about it. If somebody just stays overweight, it's because no one has come in there and hurt them. I believe, and I know this doesn't sound great, and it may sound like, if you know me, different than how I think, but again, I think this is really the truth, that selling is the process of finding people's pain, disturbing them, stirring up their pain, making them feel the hurt, and then healing it through new sets of choices, usually in the form of your products or services. You got to find out enough about that person to find a problem that they have. You got to find a hurt. You got to find out what is something they want but they're not getting. And they may say that there's nothing, but do you know a person alive who is without something that they want that they're not getting if you really, really probe and look? So you got to find, number one, a deep want or interest. And then number two, you got to disturb them. And number three, you got to show them how to solve it by using your product.